All right. Well, so we're kicking off with the Power Rangers comics. Boom Studios has had the rights to Power Rangers since like fucking 2016, I think, right?
I do believe so, yes.
And we're gonna read the series chronologically. We're gonna go through and talk about everything that happened, starting with the first volume of Go Go Power Rangers, which I don't think there's an official title for it. I've just been referring to it as the Putty Infiltrator, which spans the first 8 issues of Go Go Power Rangers. So yeah, we're gonna dive into it, tackle it issue by issue.
And this is all in preparation for the final issue coming out for Boom, correct?
Yeah, by the time this comes out, I think the series will be done. But yeah, this is all is like they're done. We finally made it to the end. Let's fucking talk about it. All right. Go Go Power Rangers #1 kicks off the second issue or second series that Boom Studios did. Chronologically, though, it picks up right after the first episode of Power Rangers, so it makes sense to talk about it first. Series was written by Ryan, or these issues were written by Ryan Perot and illustrated by Dan Mora. Colors were done by Raul. Man, fuck, I don't need to introduce all that is. Y'all can look it up. So the issue picks up literally after Goldar gets his ass kicked by the Power Rangers for the first time. And it's kind of just giving a little bit of an introduction to each of the Rangers in question. As we know, the traditional 5, or the original 5, are Jason, Zach, Billy, Trini, and Kimberly. The first character we get introduced to is Jason, who is the Red Ranger. We learned that he was a bit of a bully before he became a martial artist, and he became a martial artist to get his shit in check. Because what 15-year-old doesn't need to be told they need to get their shit in check?
It's such a hard life for 15-year-old.
I know, man. Especially high schoolers.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to any other type of 15-year-old. The next character that we get some face time with is Zach, who, as everyone remembers, is the Black Ranger, and he is everybody's friend. Then we meet Billy and Trini at the same time, and Billy's getting bullied by Bulk and Skull because that's just kind of how it goes. We are then introduced, rather than Kimberly, we're introduced to a new character named Matt Cook. Now, Matt is, I'm just going to say it, Matt's fucking handsome. He's a good-looking fella. Like, look at his hair. It's spiked up, all casual, like, after being under a hat. He's a good-looking fella. And then we get a little bit of an introduction to how, well, this Rita is not the one that everyone laughed at in the TV show. She's a little bit more sinister. She's willing to, torture on screen rather than implied torture. And I'm kind of here for those mommy vibes she gives off.
Oh, absolutely would.
Yeah?
By the way.
Oh, yeah, you would.
Yeah.
So, this Go Go Power Rangers, much like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic series that came before it, gave us a lot more insight to the personal lives of the Power Rangers. Kimberly is dating Matt, who, again, is a new character that was introduced for the series. And being a Power Ranger is really starting to be a conflict with her love life, as well as, everyone's personal lives. So, much like any other superhero film, i.e. Spider-Man, Batman, Teen Titans,
Superman, yeah.
It's really, this has given us the balance of home life and work life for the Rangers. And the issue ends with the Power Rangers doing something that they definitely didn't do in the TV show at this point, and that was go straight to the moon to take the fight to Rita. And things seem to be going okay until Jason pulls the hero move and ends up getting blown through a wall by Rita. So yeah, this first issue starts off, in my opinion, feel free to disagree on it. It definitely starts off with higher stakes in my eyes. As somebody that's spent a lot of time growing up watching the show, it definitely felt like there was more of a threat coming from Rita and her gang versus what we got in the TV show.
So I will just 100% agree, yes, but this is also coming from somebody who hasn't watched or read any Power Rangers since the actual first movie.
Right.
And like ever since then, it's either like, well, I played a couple video games and then seen or caught up, done recaps from like YouTubers that do comic readings. But from what my knowledge is, this is definitely more like the high stakes you said of a Power Rangers.
This one, rather than being like a kid's TV show, because if I remember right, it was rated Y7, which is like kids, like children's, whereas this is definitely geared towards more the older target audience, or the older audiences, older teens, early 20s, basically geared towards the kids that grew up watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So getting that little bit of extra like danger aspect of it is very refreshing, because it's not just the campy like over the top explosions, it's not sparks flying off the suits, it's literally a human person being blown through a wall in space.
Yeah.
And as ridiculous as that sounds, it gets more ridiculous. The next couple of issues spend time really going over Kimberly's arrival in Angel Grove. Angel Grove is the prime location of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I think all the way up through Power Rangers in Space, actually. And Kimberly was an outsider when she first got there. She moved there from a different city. Her parents are going through a messy divorce and trying to give her a good start in a new place, and she doesn't really fit in. But the first time that she's starting to get like some kind of feelings like of friendship with people is with Matt, when they go out on their first date. They go to a carnival. It's very sweet. She gets sick. She throws up, and he's there to hold her hair back for her, which is gross. Girls being depicted as throwing up should never happen in media of any sort.
God damn it, Martin.
But then after we get that nice little flashback memory, it brings us back to the present, where the Power Rangers are getting the ever-living shit kicked out of them by just a bunch of Putty patrollers, not even Goldar or any of the other significant threats. So this is, maybe day 2 of them being Power Rangers, and they're already trying to take the fight to, the big bad that's been doing this for 10,000 years at least.
Right, they got overzealous and thought they can just take everybody out, yeah.
And one of the people that are very quick to call out how overzealous Jason is being with being the leader of the group is Zach. Zach feels a pang of jealousy that he wasn't elected to be the leader, and he calls Jason out on the fact that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, of course, right. And then while that's happening, Billy and Kimberly are having their own discussion about whether or not they think they can stand up to Rita, or if it's better to just accept defeat and, give it to Rita.
Yeah.
Basically Rita was like a surrender or die, and Billy's like, dude, should we just surrender? But, ultimately it's for the best that they don't. And then we get a proper introduction to Bulk and Skull. Now, Bulk and Skull in the original series was always, they were ultimately just, they were just what's the word I'm looking for? Comic relief. Bulk and Skull were ultimately just the comic relief in that series.
Right.
I will say that this comic series and the other Boom Studios comics do a very good job of, like, giving them depth to their characters. When they're first introduced, it's almost like cut for cut how they were introduced in the TV show. They walk into class like 20 minutes late. They're just being loud, pains in the asses, and Jason steps up and tells them to shut the hell up and let us learn. And then Trini's being, cute, shy girl that doesn't know how to talk to boys, and tries to rizz up Jason. This plot point doesn't come up frequently, but it is, I think, including the romance element of the Power Rangers was something that I felt worked pretty well. Because, well, for one, it does come across as very forced. But then you remember that they're teenagers, and teenagers over-exaggerate everything. So it kind of works in a weird way. Also, Kimberly, having her own love troubles, finds out that Matt's upset with her because she keeps bouncing right when they're starting to like get all kissy. But she's bouncing because, you know, Power Ranger stuff takes precedent over getting all kissy with the hot guy with the spiky hair. And I gotta say, Matt has a fucking significant underbite on that jaw. That boy is angry. He woke up, he chose violence, and he is reading what looks to be a manga about. Oh no, it's a biology book.
No, it's the biology book.
He's putting it in upside down though. That's how upset he is. He's so upset he's putting his biology book in his locker. Wrong.
But hey, man, good on him. He's like, you need to validate my feelings.
Exactly. You know what? I will say that men get shit on a lot for like not validating emotions. We have emotions too. It's okay to slap us on the butt, maybe kiss us on the mouth, tell us we're pretty. So while Trini and Kimberly are both floundering with their love lives, Rita's concocting her most evilest of plans to date. Again, keep in mind this is like 2 days later. And Trini decides to like step up her game because she's like, hey, I want to kiss you on the mouth, but I'm shy and awkward. You want to punch each other while we're Power Rangers? And so this becomes kind of their like little routine where they just beat the hell out of each other while they're Power Rangers. Jason thinks it's training, and Trini's just like, fuck yeah, dude, put your hands on me. Sorry.
Just remember, these are depicted as still kids.
I didn't say nothing inappropriate. No, I meant that like in the manner of like, hey, you put your hands on me, let's fight, let's throw hand.
Okay, alright.
And then we see the first real depiction of like life getting fucked up by being a Power Ranger. Billy spends like 48 hours straight working on those communication devices that everyone saw on the show, everyone loved, everyone was like, I wish I had one of them's. And he ended up missing a major test for Mrs. Appleby, who, as you remember, was the hot MILF of a teacher from the TV show.
Oh, I don't.
She kind of looked like Mrs. Puff.
Oh.
And then at the end of the issue, the issue ends with it kind of being revealed that the group didn't like Kimberly very much at the get-go because of something to do with a salad. Yeah. Okay. It's official. 2 days after arrival. So those Power Rangers, those motherfuckers tried to go up to the moon day one. They tried to go up to the moon their first day of being Power Rangers. Goddamn. That's some testicles on these Power Rangers, man.
Yeah, they were like, nah, you ain't gonna fuck with Earth. We're gonna go up there with our unknown powers, and we're gonna try to fucking beat the shit out of you.
Hell yeah. And then Rita's plan has finally come to fruition. We now know what her goal is. And that is, also where I get the name for this story arc, is the Putty Infiltrator. The Putty Infiltrator is similar to the average Putty Patroller, but it can transform into other things. The initial form it takes is of a smoking hot woman, TBH.
Fair.
TBH, pretty hot. Definitely got that like witchy vibe, that like I'm gonna slam you up against the locker and then stick my tongue down your throat kind of vibe.
Most welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're introduced to a threat that, you know, off the bat didn't happen in the TV show. So while the initial comics tried to like say, okay, we kind of are canon to the TV show. They're kind of also not. But at this point, they're still kind of following the same general like timeline that the TV show followed.
Okay, so in theory, like if somebody wanted to get into this run, they would go and watch the first aired episode of Mighty Morphin, and then go straight into the first issue of Go-Go.
Sort of, yeah. Essentially, okay. There's a few villains that are introduced as far like the daily monsters that are introduced that kind of gives you an idea of where in the TV show it would have taken place. So like I said, the fact that they fought Goldar, it was day one. So that gives it that issue number 1 takes place after day number 1 of the series. Okay. So it's and it doesn't happen often, but there's another issue. There's some more issues that come later along that'll kind of point you at like, okay, so this is where this kind of starts taking place. All right, issue number 3 gives us another flashback, going back a little bit further to 6 years before they became the Power Rangers, and we see a young Billy who's got a dinosaur on his T-shirt. By the way, very meta. The fact that he's already a fan of dinosaurs. But he's hanging out with Skull, a younger Skull, which means that these two grew up being friends. Like, they had a relationship outside of Skull being the guy that always picked on Billy in the show. We do see that Skull definitely had a little bit of a harder upbringing. His brother is kind of a dickbag to him, and Billy kind of steps up and invites him over to have dinner with his family rather than have to go home and deal with his older brother and, his dick friends. Then we flash forward to the present, and, we see Bulk and Skull fucking with Billy as they do. And there's a particular thing that Billy says. He refers to something. They stuff some nasty shit in Billy's locker, and Billy says, at least it's not lava sand. This lava sand is a callback to that flashback with Billy, where they're talking about these space pirates. They're playing a game at the park. It's very innocent. And then that makes Billy or Skull kind of feel remorse for being such a dickbag all the time, right?
Right, like call back to their younger youth when they were best friends.
Exactly. So at this point, it's been 7 days since they became the Power Rangers, and it's revealed that there are already people trying to take full advantage of this Power Ranger thing that's going on by like merchandising it. And gotta say, mad props to the people that are trying to do that.
Gotta get your hustle somehow.
We then flash over to the Putty Infiltrator, aka the really hot babe with red eyes and those full pouting lips and that like dress cut, like the leg cut on the dress and stuff. Well, she's just causing chaos all around town, trying to figure out where the hell the Power Rangers are, and terrorizing the locals. Which again, mad respect to her because they were assholes. They threw French fries at her because she wasn't like putting up with their riz.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? You gotta throw French fries at somebody and try to get them to date you.
Yeah. I did have a thought about that though. Actually, would it be a she since it can transform into other things, but it's also a Putty Patroller, or would it be an it?
It.
Can we ask its pronouns?
We can. If they would answer us.
Yeah. God, I wish. It's then revealed that let me try that again. It's then revealed what Rita's ultimate master plan on this whole thing is to infiltrate the Power Rangers. She wants to find somebody that can get close enough to the Power Rangers to cause some serious psychological damage. Problem is, she doesn't know who the hell the Power Rangers are. So, they gotta find it. They gotta figure... Actually, wait, I might be wrong about that. Oh, no, scratch that.
You're right.
No, she does know who they are. So, scratch that. Rewind it. The problem is she knows the names of the Rangers, but she doesn't know where the Rangers are. She has a general idea if they're in Angel Grove. We'll start there. And while her and her conniving bastard friends are all being evil and shit, Jason and Trini are kicking the hell out of each other again. Just things are getting a little steamy. Like you got some like really close contact. Trini's like pinning him to the ground, and they don't have the sound of heavy breathing. But you know, based on how fogged up her visor is getting, that she likes punching Jason.
A little too much.
Yeah, a little too much. And then it's then like revealed that Trini had forgotten her mom's birthday, which is like, grand scheme of things, like, who gives a shit? But like, you're 15, your mom's, you know, kind of hot, got like Mom from Turning Red vibes on her. And you know, Trini feels guilty about it, which, you know, good daughter, you know. But once again, being a Power Ranger gets in the way of fucking life. And speaking of being a Power Ranger getting in the way of life, something that's often completely swept under the rug in the TV show that I love that they made a bigger fuss about in this series is the fact that giant monsters destroying the city is going to have some damage to the city, you know? Like, we don't...
And it... No, yeah, and then, like, it makes them feel more of a community. They're still kids. They're, you know, they gotta do their... right part to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, in this we see not only the devastation that the Power Rangers fighting giant monsters brings, we also see the relief fund, like, efforts. There you go. There's, you know, the whole crew is cleaning up downtown where the damage has been. You know, all the Rangers are there, Matt's there, a few other students are there, Bulk and Skull are there causing shit, because that's what Bulk and Skull do. And then Jason confronts Bulk and Skull, and then Mr. Kaplan's like, hey, stop being an asshole. And then, you know, while all this shit's going on, the sexy Putty Infiltrator shows up, and she's like, I don't want your Power Ranger juice, I want the Power Rangers. And everyone's just like, aight. And because the Power Rangers aren't showing up, Rita decides that the best course of action is to give the Power Rangers a reason to show up by making it rain Putty Patrollers. And I gotta be honest, like, what better way to draw out a group of crime fighters than to create crime for them to fight?
Yeah, true.
Like, the only other time that this has been more effectively done was in Batman Forever, when Harvey Dent showed up with a big old thing of TNT with the intention of blowing up the Big Top, and Val Kilmer was like, hey, no, don't do this, I'm Batman. But nobody could hear him because he was there. Everyone was screaming because of the bomb.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, naturally, as soon as they're able to, the Rangers morph and start whoop-assing. Now, Jason, because he's being punished by Kaplan, is now stuck in a convenience store with a bunch of other civilians and Bulk. And they're arguing about the fact that, you know, we need to get out there and help because, like, my buddies are out there. And Bulk's like, I also need to get out there because my one buddy is out there. And Kaplan's just being, you know, a good principal by not letting them run out into the face of danger.
He's protecting his kids.
Yeah, he's doing his job. Meanwhile, Kimberly and Matt have gotten separated from everybody, and Matt gets smacked through a fucking building. Hardcore, first of all. Matt's just a dude. He's not a Power Ranger. Unmorphed, I feel like even the Power Rangers would still take some pretty significant damage, but Matt just gets straight up smacked through a wall into, like, a construction zone and, like, might die.
But yeah, it's like potentially, yeah, on the verge of death at that point.
So, as I've said before, this series is very good at showing the stakes of what's happening around them. This moment more so than I think any other one to this point or even for a while after because like it's one thing for the Power Rangers to get knocked down, it's another thing entirely for them to show a civilian getting like fatally wounded,
and especially like one close to them.
Right. It's the emotional damage of seeing a civilian get hit like this, and it's a double whammy because of who it is. And I just gotta say, for issue number 4, this cover is probably one of my favorites from the series.
I think so far, it was the 5th issue. We'll get to it when we get.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
The one where they're climbing.
Oh yeah. I know what you mean. I really like this just because like I like the design of Flog. I'm assuming is what I think that's what it's called. They never actually specify directly, I don't think. But it's all it says is Flog. There's just something about this, like the biker punk look that it's got going that I always really enjoy. And I like the forced perspective angle that they always did for the show when it came to the monsters growing big.
Right.
Because if you remember from on the show, it was always from behind the monster, because then they could just have the Rangers be really far away but still look close. This one, it's from the opposite side. You can't do forced perspective like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a really good homage to it. You can also see Rita's wand down there, so it's just now making her monster grow.
We're gonna get to one of my favorite things in this issue.
Oh, word!
The way they see. Yeah, the way they... we'll get to it. I'll show you.
Okay. We get a little bit more backstory on the whole salad event as to why the Rangers don't like Kimberly. It's because she accidentally got Zach fired from his job.
No, she did it on purpose.
She did. She saw him and she's like, you know what? I don't want him working here.
I was not trying to go there.
So, basically... Kimberly finds out her parents are getting a divorce, or they're showing the first signs of it. Like they're arguing nonstop. They're unhappy with each other basically, and she grabs Zach, who's a busboy, not a waiter, and tells him that there's something wrong with the salad she ordered. He tries to explain very calmly that he's like that's not what he doesn't do that. And his manager, being the stuffy old fart that he is, fires him right then and there in the moment.
Yeah, also somebody who's still works in the service industry. Yeah, she's just I would have kicked her out.
Kimberly?
Yeah, I would have kicked her out.
Well, I will say to her credit, after her initial like, hey, I got the wrong thing, she's like, no, wait, hold on. It's not a big deal. It's her parents that escalate it more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely... I see Zach's perspective on why he doesn't like her very much, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary hatred towards her versus what her parents did.
That's true.
And then after that nice little flashback of how Kimberly ruined Zach's life, he comes in and saves Matt and Kimberly from being killed, which I guess means he's forgiven her for the salad incident, I guess.
It seems like that.
Maybe, I don't know.
There's a lot of, like, reading these, like, 8 issues, there was a lot of, like, back and forth of the flashbacks and, like, I hate you in this time, and then here in the present time, like, all's forgiven because the team and whatnot.
That's one thing I will say feels a lot better about this is, in the TV show, for whatever reason, it just happened to be 5 friends that got chosen. In this one, it definitely feels more like 5 teenagers that are actually trying to figure out how they feel about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. I like that. Billy and Trini show up and help Zach with fighting the giant gross monster, while Jason and Bulk are still trying to get out of the building that they're locked in. During the fight, Billy is working on search and rescue. He's trying to make sure the citizens are safe, and he comes across Skull, who's like really thankful towards him for saving him, but makes a passing remark about how his buddy Bulk, him and his buddy Bulk are a lot like the Power Rangers. To which Billy gives him the cold shoulder and is like, nah, dude, we see everything you do. And it's just kind of like, there's definitely some bitterness that Billy feels. Rightfully so. He's getting bullied by an old childhood friend. Like, that fucking sucks. Been there, done that.
Right.
Yeah, I'll never be able to make friends with that guy after what I said to him. While while their fight is starting to pick up, Kimberly is approached by a stranger who says that she'll take care of Matt while she goes and helps the Power Rangers. The fact that the stranger had no question about why this girl was leaving her boyfriend with her should have raised a red flag. It didn't, because, well, of course, the woman that Kimberly left her boyfriend with is, in fact, the hot, sexy demon clay woman that's gonna do evil stuff. Up on the moon, Rita is like, hell yeah, let's do this, and makes that monster grow, which it does say his name is Flog right here. So that's good. I was right. So she makes Flog grow, which in turn requires Dinozord power. The problem with Dinozords...
Hold on, let's real quick. One of my favorite things in this issue is when he's growing enlarged.
Oh, yeah.
Is how they show it. Yeah, it's one of the best things that's really done really well. Just like art-wise. It's just the transition.
Beautiful artwork. Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also getting to see the Dinozords come from their resting places. Amazing. Because it matches up with what they did in the show, which I really appreciate that they did.
Gives them their whole identity and then just coming together as one. It's
beautiful. But the problem...
It is beautiful.
The problem with Jason being stuck in a convenience store is, of course, they can't form the Megazord. So Billy decides to act quick and says, well, hey, if we can't bring the Jason to us, we'll just shut off the power grid. And, collateral damage is real. There's monsters destroying the city. Like, who's gonna be like, wait a second, this looks like Power Ranger damage.
Yeah, that's honestly a smart move.
Yeah, they blow the power grid, Jason's able to escape, and then they form the Megazord. And I gotta be honest, the whole, exploded diagram of this Megazord is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I saw this issue, or this particular issue, was... I thought it was the coolest fucking thing ever. Oh, fuck. I'm dying.
This alone should have been another cover.
I thought they did. They might not have. But, irregardless, it has very much of a Transformers feel. How everything kind of comes apart and goes back together, which we don't really see in the show because everything just kind of folds into itself.
Right.
So Megazord is now here, and it just fucking it takes Flog down, no problem. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first major battle they've had since day one, so I think they're kind of following that weekly vibe that Power Rangers had originally. I could be wrong. That's just maybe just my assumption here. And then the story and the issue ends with kind of coming back to that denouement, to use a literary term. Coming back to to use a pretentious fucking literary word. They're basically getting back to square one. They go to the juice bar. Jason's volunteered them to do some work to keep the juice bar open, and Trini reconnects with her mom. She got her the centerpiece of a stone garden that her mother had when she was a child, and it was a very meaningful present. So, So I think it was a very nice way to end that. And we then get to see Zach confronting Zordon. Zach confronted Jason about how he felt about Jason being the Red Ranger. Now he's going straight to the big bald guy in the jar. And Jason, and Zordon's explanation for why he chose Jason as the Red Ranger is perfect, in my opinion. He didn't pick Jason because he was a natural born leader. He didn't pick him because he was the strongest or anything like that. He chose Jason to be the Red Ranger and the leader of the Power Rangers because he knew what it was like to be the bad guy before he became the good guy. And because he saw that Jason knew how to how to change the ways, he figured he would be better suited to do that with Rita,
Right.
And
good move on him, though.
Yeah, and it's
good storytelling.
Yeah, they're phenomenal writing in here, and the issue ends. The final scene of the issue, Zach has begrudgingly accepted what Zordon told him and went to visit Matt in the hospital. Kimberly has spent the night there just to keep an eye on him, and Zach comes in. Matt wakes up for the first time, and he sees his friends there. And he tells them how happy he is because, well, as fate would fuck them, the real Matt is on the moon being held captive by Rita. And they are now using the Putty Infiltrator to keep tabs on the Power Rangers. And that's fucking rad.
Yeah.
That's fucking rad. All right, the next issue jumps forward a bit more. We're about another week out, and Jason is running some simulation drills with the other Rangers, trying to get everyone feeling like, teamwork.
They're a team.
They're working together. They're practicing their teamwork. And wouldn't you know it, Homecoming's on the way. The first time I read this and I saw the whole, one thing I absolutely hate in comedies, or especially school age comedies, is always the stakes are building up so much and the big dance is coming up. And I'm you gotta be fucking, okay, real quick, cut to something else here. In Ninja Turtles, okay? There was that whole thing in the new Ninja Turtles movie, the Mutant Mayhem. At the beginning, when they were like, man, I wish we could just live normal lives, I turned to Angel and I said, oh man, I swear to God, if this movie ends with them going to fucking high school, I'm gonna lose my shit. And it ended with them going to high school, and the big dance was coming up. And I said I was done after that. I'm not gonna watch that film again. Anywho,
that's a shame. It was a really good film.
No, it wasn't. It was okay at best.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. It was cheesy, it was lame, and it was cringy as fuck, dude.
Good, because it's not made for you then.
I know, and that's fine. That's why I'm not going to watch it again. Let other people enjoy it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying I didn't enjoy it. Power Rangers. So, with the big homecoming dance coming up, everyone's trying to kind of scramble and find the date, because, why wouldn't you wait until the last minute to find a date?
Mm-hmm.
And also, class... Hold on. Oh, no. And with that, Bulk thinks, for whatever reason, he would be a good homecoming king. Which, I don't...
I mean, confidence. You gotta give the guy confidence, though.
Dude, props to homeboy. He's got confidence in spades. And being the good-willed people that they are, Trini and Zach are like, fuck yeah, dude. You go for it. Which, good on them. Now, Billy, being the nerd that he is being offered, oh shit, what's that? What is it called? Like apprenticeship?
Internship.
Internship. He's being offered internships to a major corporation known as Promethea. Now, Promethea is a much bigger deal later on in the story, so don't forget that name. Billy has been scouted basically as one of the brightest minds of his generation. And they're like, we want you to serve an internship here. And then we get to see his dad's fucking face. This face right here haunted me for a while.
It just doesn't fit. It just looks weird.
It looks so weird compared to the rest of the faces. Even other adults, it looks weird. So, anyway, it's nice to see that. So, Billy's dad, he admits, I'm not smart. Your mom's not that smart. We want the good things in life for you, so you should go after the good things. such as Prometheus. So
which is a really good thought.
That's a great message to give to your son. Like, hey, you're not the football star I wanted, but I am proud
of who you are still.
I'm proud of who you've become.
Yeah.
And then Kimberly starts to have odd feelings about Matt. She points out that he's like walking weird, which I will say, like, it's hard to imitate somebody's walk. And the Infiltrator thing is doing its darndest to do it. But the Infiltrator is now living as Matt and is like, you know what? Hey, babe, listen, babe. Just fucking kiss me again. Like,
yeah, let me rizz you up so you can forget about how I walk weird.
Look, forget about it. I'm not mad at you anymore for like bailing on me the other night. Just put your mouth on my mouth. And she's like, all right, man, cool. And the other Rangers are like, hey, man, we think you're pretty cool. And he's like, oh, man, you have no idea how cool I am. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff later on.
Right here, I honestly, the way the panel was, I thought he, like, revealed himself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nah, never mind.
I think
it's just a shadow, like, portraying.
Yeah, it's like the old, like, Spidey sense in the comics.
Yeah.
So then with them all excited, like, oh, Matt's back. We're gonna crush the other team. We're playing the big homecoming game. Isn't that exciting, guys? Remember, we're in high school. Homecoming game, football, and also dance. Meanwhile, Goldar and Finster are trying to piece together what the hell homecoming dance is.
What is it? What does Goldar say? There's no blood being sacrificed or some shit.
Is there some manner of blood sacrifice? Finster's like, okay, look, man, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is like where all the teenagers like get together and I'm not saying this just to be a lewd bitch. He says some sort of post-adolescent mating ritual. The implication is Finster's like, so they basically gonna dance and then they gonna fuck. And, you know...
That's how they become adults.
That's how you become a man, according to some people.
Yeah.
And then they decide to torment Matt a little bit more. Squat and Babu, who, by the way, I love the time that these two idiots are getting on screen, because in the TV show they were always just like, they were the bulk and skull of space, basically. But in this one, like I said, with most of them, they've become a more significant threat. Finster or Squat in the TV show, he's like a hobgoblin from like Saturn or some shit. But in this one, he's actually looks like a proper hobgoblin instead of just a goofy fat thing. And Babu is actually a vampire type creature. So like,
looks like a bug.
Right, he looks like he's an alien, but yeah. I think his race is called the Pongis or something like that.
Pongi.
Yeah, so it's finally setting in for Matt that he is in space. Like, he's not home. He's now in space being held captive by an evil witch who's fucking with his mind and making him reveal things to her that, you know, he wasn't thinking he would have to reveal to an evil space witch.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, a space witch that can manifest into your beloved.
Hey,
you know, he's got a lot.
Yo, listen, girl, I'll tell you whatever you want. Just turn into my girl one more time. Sans panties, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, shit.
So, here at this point, we get a little bit more of that. People are starting to distrust Matt. He's becoming a much better fighter than Jason expected him to do in such a short amount of time. So he's been training with Jason, just some basic martial arts, and he's getting faster at an alarming rate. To the point that...
Especially like coming out of being in the hospital.
Right, came out of the hospital, and he suddenly knows things about the other Rangers, and he's kind of planting seeds of doubt in his mind. Like, he reveals that Trini has a crush on Jason, which isn't something that I feel Matt should know. So,
yeah.
like, I feel like the only person that would have any kind of inkling about this is probably Kimberly. But again, that's just me. That's me reading between the lines. I could be very wrong.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because they're always hanging out and, girl talk. And,
girl talk, yeah. Who do you think is cute? I think Matt's cute. I'm going to kiss Matt on the mouth. But what ends up happening, like, and it's just slowly everybody's starting to piece things together. Like, things are a little off with Matt recently. And, I've been there. We've all been there. We see what Brandon gets like when he's been drinking too much. Jason's, with his weird feelings about Matt and also everything else that's been going on, is starting to take this whole Power Rangering thing a little more seriously. He's running drills with the Rangers for, hours on end, and then gets frustrated with them when they're not working the way they should be.
When they're focused up, they get distracted.
Right. They're distracted talking about homecoming dance. They want to, be teenagers, and Jason's just not having any of it. He's just like, hey, man, if I have to do this all by myself, I will. Because I'm a big, strong boy.
I can do it on my own.
I will do it all. I will find Atlantis on my own if I have to rent a rowboat to do it.
This cover. My favorite so far. Okay.
That was, for our viewers at home, that was a reference to the classic Disney film Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Milo James Thatch, voiced by the ever-talented Michael J. Fox, made a comment about finding Atlantis because he was smart and stuff. Anyway, this is a gorgeous cover. I like this little, like... God, what's the movie? I think, is it Adventures in Babysitting?
Yeah. It's the Adventures of the Babysitter.
Adventures of the Babysitter. Almost. Adventures in Babysitting. Yeah, so it's an
Adventures in Babysitting, okay.
Yeah, this is an homage to that cover. And also, I just think they did a whole line of homage, like, covers for the 80s movies and stuff. This was the only one that was the main cover, though. I think. I could be very wrong. I might be making... I might be talking...
What do you mean?
Well, like, okay, so the variant covers for this series had a line of movie posters, right? So
okay. I see what you mean now, when you said main cover.
Yeah, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, this was the only main cover that was an homage to a movie. So I thought that was cool. I also think it's really cute that Trini is holding on to Jason's neck for dear life.
Right.
For two reasons.
The whole, like, the Red Ranger's on top, being the leader.
Yeah.
You have the other ones following. The yellow one is like, hey, back off a bit. You're being, too forceful, but I still have a crush on you. It's, mixed feelings thing. I'll still hold on to you thing.
I also have a feeling it's because Trini is afraid of heights.
Oh, that's true. That's the biggest one.
Canonically, she is afraid of heights. That's the biggest one.
Yeah.
So I think
it says it too in the first issue where she's sitting on the sword.
She's sitting on
why are we still up here?
Do you guys know I have a fear of heights? That was like, I think that was like the 4th episode of the series, was Trini dealing with her fear of heights. So, 16 days after the Power Rangers form, they're in high school still, because they're like freshmen, I think. And Jason is trying to find the right way to ask Trini out. But just like Trini being awkward around him, he's very awkward around her. Because they're teenagers. And Zach finally figures out who wrote him a secret love note. Just generic character named Violet. Generic Violet. Nobody important.
Generic Violet.
I think she shows up in like 4 issues total. So, yeah.
Wow. Very generic.
Very, like, just... nothing, no identifying appearance or things about her appearance aside from the fact she wears a purple sweater and her name's Violet.
Didn't even catch that until you said it.
Yep. You know, it's the little things that most people don't pick up on like that. You know,
Goddamn, Goldor's design.
bro, Goldar. So later that night, Goldar attacks the fucking drive-in movie, which sucks because I love the drive-in. And Matt and his family the Putty Infiltrator and portraying Matt is at the movies with his family when Goldar attacks. The Rangers get the call. They're like, "Hey, fuck, we got to go." And Billy is at an interview for the internship with Promethea. And because his watch keeps going off, you know, that tells him like, "Hey, I need to go." But he's like, "This is like a really big opportunity for me, and I might be blown."
Right.
So the 4 Rangers that are there have their little fight against against Goldar and the other putties, while Billy is basically throwing his life away because he's gonna bomb this interview. During the attack, the Putty Infiltrator comes face to face with a group of putties and tells them to fuck off. And Zach happens to be in the vicinity, sees them run when Matt tells them to go. So we now have 3 Rangers that feel like something's off with Matt.
Right, and Zach being maybe the closest one to a for sure answer.
Zach is definitely the closest one because he's spent the most time with Matt. He knows Matt better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And Billy finally shows up and happens to be right in the line of fire and gets taken by Goldar. Goldar ends up holding him hostage and then gets hit by a car driven by none other than the Putty Patroller, or the Putty Infiltrator, because he needs to keep good images with the Rangers. Like, you gotta keep your friends like thinking you're on the right side.
Or what is it? Your friends close and your enemies closer thing.
Yeah, keep your friends close and your enemies in bed with you.
Yeah, that too, dude.
So,
that actually sounds more fun.
Right. So after the battle, Jason confronts Billy, like, "Dude, what the hell?" And Billy's like, "Dude, I have a life outside of this. Like, you don't control everything in my life," which Jason doesn't like. Everyone kind of like empathizes with him, but the Rangers are starting to realize like this is going to affect their personal lives. Like, family members are going to be in danger if like Rita knows who they are.
Yeah.
So now that we've seen what Putty Matt is up to, Matt himself is starting to throw a tantrum that he's stuck on the moon. But the Infiltrator is starting to get... Well, you know, all the Power Rangers are starting to feel misgivings towards Matt. Well, now Rita's starting to feel misgivings towards her own creation. She's like, "Dude, what are you doing? What
The irony.
What are you doing over there? Like, are you forgetting what your mission is?" And he's like, "Nah, bro, I got this. I know what I'm up to. I'm going to get all 5 of the Power Rangers for you, and I'm going to hand them to you on a silver platter. But first, I got to go kick ass at this football game." And they do. Matt ends up leading their team to pretty significant victory. All the while,
do a Royale.
all the while managing to do some significant damage, like physical damage to people, because he's got super strength. And then Bulk and Skull work up the guts to ask out dates for homecoming. Kimberly and Matt have a moment in the locker room, and then Billy interrupts that sweet moment by saying that he wants to quit the Power Rangers. Like a bitch.
Don't do it.
Don't you do it, Billy. Don't you do it. Now, the interesting thing is Billy, poor sweet oblivious Billy, thinks that the only suitable candidate is Matt himself. Which I guess he didn't realize what was going on with Matt right now.
Yeah.
Poor little guy. Poor little Billy. He's a sweet little boy.
He can do it. He can hang with the Power Rangers.
So, the 7th issue, we finally make it. We're heading to more arguing because the Power Rangers can't get along for 5 minutes without fighting. Billy has come clean to the rest of the Rangers, saying like, I want to quit, and I want Matt to take over, which then immediately jumps to Jason accusing Kimberly of pushing Billy to do this.
To want Matt to be the Blue Ranger.
And Billy's like, dude, I don't have anything that I can do. Like, you saw it. I got taken hostage and Matt hit Goldar with a car. So, like, it makes sense.
What he thinks is Matt.
Right. So, Jason and Matt do some more sparring. They, and Jason, even more so, is starting to have feelings of, like, dude, what's going on with Matt? And then Zach goes and confronts Violet because, we need to keep going to that story. We're all so worried about who's going to homecoming with who. And then the day of homecoming arrives. Trini gets a haircut, really short haircut, by the way, and gets some yellow streaks because, she's the yellow Power Ranger. And Kimberly gets her hair straightened and gets some pink streaks because she's the Pink Ranger. Everyone's getting ready for homecoming in their own ways. The gents are getting rented suits and such. The girls are getting their hair did, and the real Matt is up on the moon, picking locks with forks and then threatening Rita's men. Now, I feel like
handling themselves really well.
I feel like they did Squat real dirty here because Squat is armed with a gun. Homeboy has a gun. And he let himself get tooken by a guy with a fork. Now, that is important. That he breaks out and he says, hey, I am leaving. You're going to get me out of here. And he uses the fact that he knows Squat is like the bottom of the totem pole to convince him to get him off of here. So, the boys pick up their dates. Billy takes Trini to the dance, and Matt Thing takes Kimberly to the dance. And Matt Thing. And when they get to the dance, everything's pretty nice. Like, Jason went stag because he's got no testicles to ask girls out. Also, there's only 2 girls in their friend group, so he's kind of run out of options now. And they do the whole prom or homecoming thing. Everyone takes pictures together, and it's really sweet. Bulk and Skull have some pictures with their girls, and there's this random group of 5 dudes that are in one of the pictures for some fucking reason. I've never noticed or thought about that until just now. Okay, cool.
That's a little weird.
So the dance is nice and all. Billy's fully aware that, like, Trini wanted to be there with Jason, and she's like, hey, it's okay. I'm happy with being here with you. And then the votes are coming in for Homecoming King and Queen. And the queen bitch that always wins Homecoming Queen is like, hey, Bulky, if you win, I'm going to fuck up your date's dress. And he's like, oh man, I gotta be the good guy and step down. So he ends up forfeiting in the most, like, bulkish way. He plays it off like, I was just doing this as a prank, y'all. You guys are a bunch of D-bags. And then, yeah, he ends up losing. His date ends up being like, I'm no bitch. And Bulk's like, I'm sorry. I thought I was being the good guy. And she's like, whatever, don't talk to me no more. And it's all a nice distraction from the fact that, Matt bursts in through the door and he's like, hey guys, I've been on the moon. And everyone else is like, what are you talking about? Where's the other Matt? And they find him running away, and he is now facing them as a foe. And it's unfortunate because, like, you can see that there is actual hurt in this Putty's, like, eyes. The
Putty Matt.
He's upset with what he has to do. And now he's like, okay, the only thing I have, like, at this point, y'all are attacking me. I was just going to leave. And so issue 8 kicks off with him going up against the Rangers, and it's crazy to see, because this feels very much like I think it was in the early 90s they had some issues of Venom where he had some like sprouted extra heads and shit. It feels very 90s like Venom with the way he moves around, with the way his body like moves about and changes. And I gotta be honest, I loved it. I thought this was one of the best fights in this series to date. And
also feels like a little really more darker because of like the enclosed space they're in.
It feels more body horror.
Right. And like the fact that they can now, like, there was a Putty that infiltrated them and was one of their loved ones, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of psychological as well as like physical horror aspects to this. And the Putty proves that, like, I know you guys way better than you think I do now. He's transforming into each of them and fighting them each as themselves and kind of kicking their asses. And when it finally comes to the end of the fight, you know, the Putty decides, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I want in life. And he tries to break free of not only Rita's control, but of the whole shebang. He tries to be an individual. And it is a very powerful moment because you're reminded just how powerful Rita herself is. Because she now has this monster that has effectively abandoned her. And rather than, like, send something new down or get upset with it, she just takes control of it.
That's wild.
She takes control of the Putty and decides that it's her turn to fight. So the Rangers call in their Megazord. Well, guess what? Rita can do the thing where she takes control and makes her own Megazord. And seeing two versions of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord fight was awesome. Because like it's every kid's dream. Like, every kid played with their Megazords and made them fight, right?
Yeah.
And now we have Space Witch playing with her Megazord. And like the mage hands that she's using to control this thing, it's all very well done. The art style, the artwork as a whole makes it work. It's what gives it the life that it needed.
Yeah.
And we've got the at the end of everything, like, final blow is about to be struck, and they say, you know what? We may work great as a team, but right now we need to work individually. Because it's tracking us, not like each of us, you know? Like, it's tracking what we're doing as a unit rather than what we're doing individually. If we can overwhelm it coming from every angle rather than one, that might be the way to win, which they do. They end up just fucking destroying the Putty as the 5 Dinosaurs rather than as a Megazord for once.
Just, again.
Chills.
Really, yeah. Really good fight.
Yeah. And then comes the moment where, like, it kind of all comes back to square one again. Billy's like, you know what, guys, you've shown me that I can be a Power Ranger. I just have some work to figure that out. And Bulk and Skull get dumped, and Jason and Trini chit chat about, hey, so that thing that was pretending to be Matt was like, hey, you like me or whatever? Do you? And she's like, I don't know. Do you like me? Touches fingers together, and he's like, I don't know. Maybe we should just be friends that sometimes beat each other up. And she's like, okay. And then Billy's dad's like, hey, dude, I saw you threw away that cool headset that Promethea gave you. Why don't you not do that? Because, like, we could sell this and buy stuff. And really, he's trying to be, like, supportive. He's like, hey, look, I get it. I get what you're feeling, but like you shouldn't just give up on a dream like this. You should pursue it. Be better than us, and at least sell the headset. And Billy's like, all right, fine, whatever you say, Dad. And then we get to see Matt. We get to see Matt for the first time, like, back on Earth after all's said and done. And Matt is fucking wrecked. He is haunted by the things he's been through. And Jason and Kim are trying to comfort him, but the lights are on, but nobody's home right now, basically.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'd do that to somebody like that.
Yeah. So everything kind of goes back to square one. Kimberly keeps doing her gymnastics at the youth center, and Zach lifts weights because he's cool. And the issue leaves us on a cliffhanger for a story that's to come. We see a pink Power Ranger, very similar design to Kimberly's Power Ranger suit, but instead of white, it's got black. And she's holding a glowing green crystal. And in the background, we also see what seems to be a disturbing, bastardized amalgamation of Finster and Alpha 5. But that won't all be talked about until we get to the story arc called Shattered Grid. So that'll be a bit, couple more episodes before we get there.
So this Ranger right here.
Yes.
This is, if I remember through the show, were the Dark Ones correct, or is this a different one?
I'm not going to tell you anything about it. You're just going to have to wait.
Okay.
I will tell you it is kind of a shock who it is. But don't worry, you'll get caught up there soon.
Okay.
So overall, I think that, given that this wasn't actually the first story arc in the Boom Studios, like there's a lot of stuff that's been building up in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers before this happened. I chose to go with this story arc because it's like the first story. It's not picking up after Tommy joins the Rangers. It's picking up at the very beginning of the Power Rangers story. Which is why I chose to do this one first. So overall, I think it was a very strong introduction to the series. If this was the first time you've ever read Power Rangers, this is a good place to start. You're getting a feel for like what the stories are going to be. You're seeing the larger stakes, the larger scale on everything, and getting that extra side story of, the Power Rangers just doing their day-to-day lives, I think is very well done.
Yeah, agreed.
And I will say, as a personal preference, I think Dan Mora's artwork perfectly fits the Power Rangers. I think that of the artists that have worked on Power Rangers, his was by far the best version that they had. So
I haven't seen any others, but yeah.
So you'll see once we get a little further down the road. Honestly, the only thing I wish I would say about this one is, because there was so much going on, like with I get it, they're high schoolers, they want to have the high schooler vibe for it, but I wish I could have done with less of the high school aspect of it. Like I very much had the same thought about Peter Parker in the MCU. I wish that they would just let Peter Parker grow, I wish that we could have less focus on the school aspect of everything and more on like the superheroing aspect.
But would you think that would take away from their character arc building?
I feel like the major things that we've had so far would not be it wouldn't make much of a difference at any in any age range, like aside from a few of the smaller things, like the awkward geeky like can't talk to girls vibe, I feel like would work up to a certain point, but like that might be one of the few things that should keep it about high school,
Okay.
But like everything else, like dealing with a friend that's being impersonated, that really can apply to any age range. Like the dealing with the grief of loss, having to learn to balance work and life, work and home. Like, all of that's very accessible to most age groups. So that's one thing I do think works really well about it, is like, it doesn't take a genius to connect with what they're feeling in this story. So
Yeah.
all right, bud,
You got some good points.
you got any final thoughts for it?
None that are impactful. I mean, just like overall, this is a really good introduction for me too of a first story arc of Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like my knowledge, of course, is the very first movie, a couple of episodes of the first series of Mighty Morphin Rangers in Space with their first one, and I think that's about it where my knowledge stops.
All right, well, then you are in for a treat, my friend. I am so excited to take this journey with you.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. Oh, and then other than me collecting the helmet variants for Shattered Grid.
I'll tell you what, the Shattered Grid stories you should be excited for, but it gets so much better after that too.
Okay.
Like I'm not kidding. Shattered Grid was phenomenal, but things get so much better as time goes on.
Well, now I'm excited.
Well, you should be.